And tributes continue to stream in for the late songstress Dr Sibongile Khumalo, who succumbed to stroke-related complications after a long illness yesterday at the age of 63. Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Nathi Mthethwa says Dr Khumalo was passionate about music and heritage, and that at the age of 14 she knew she wanted to become an opera singer. Our reporter Linda Mnisi is outside the songstress home in Mondio and joins us live. Linda, very good afternoon for you as tributes and, of course, continue to stream in. We are mourning the legend who has just passed on shortly after another legend passed on and was laid to rest today.
Indeed, and when you look at the times that we're living in right now, it makes it much more difficult for those who knew and loved Mam Sibongile Khumalo to come to a home to pay a tribute. But we're talking here about a woman that is celebrated throughout all corners of the world, really. You know, if you look at some of the tributes that have come in, like you've just mentioned, that of the Minister of Arts and Culture, Nathi Mthethwa, really speaking about the talent that she was. I mean, also ushering South Africa into a democracy, really, at the inauguration of the late former President Nelson Mandela the next year. You know, also singing in the Rugby World Cup final, but also, you know, many more performances that have captured the hearts of so many across the world. Speaking, you know, to speak to us more about, you know, the life and times. You and I know her as the inimitable Dr Sibongile Khumalo, but what kind of person was she at home? I've got with me spokesperson to the family, Bandile Mngoma. Bandile, thank you so much. Like I say, many of us know her as the songstress, someone who really believed in young talent. But behind those white walls, what kind of person was Mam Sibongile Khumalo?
Wow, sure. You are talking about a gogo. She was a doting gogo. You know, she will call the grandkids back into the house to have a piece of apple, to have a piece of orange, and just come and reminisce and have a conversation with her. And then moving on from a gogo, you're talking about a mother, you know, a mother to Tsepo, Ayanda, and Siabonga, you know, a very doting mother, and, you know, and how she relates to them, you know. It was like friends, moving on from a mother, an aunt, a confidant to some of us, a shoulder to lean on, and yeah, and once in an occasion, just trying to keep up with the time. So she was somebody who could relate to a 70-year-old and also to a 7-year-old. So truly, yeah. So she was everything. She was everything. Yeah.
And as someone who was able really to relate with all generations, essentially, what would you say were some of her best teachings to her family members who did not see a celebrity, who saw an ordinary woman who was raising children and a family?
Wow, can you believe it that when it comes to culture, you know, it comes to tradition, when it comes to customs, you know, in terms of how we relate to people, you know, that's what she actually was all about. Knowledge sharing, I have to emphasize that. And a great storyteller, you know, so you could have a conversation with her about anything. You know, you can talk from politics to soccer. I won't mention which team she favors because there's a derby coming up. But believe me, you know, soccer, you talk about the Let's Dance craze. She'll always be curious what's happening. So from everybody at home, she was truly a, one of our own.
Indeed. And I want to talk, you know, about her illness. You know, after a long illness, she succumbed to that illness, which really came as a shock, really, to South Africans. Talk us through, you know, her journey through her illness.
Well, Mam Sibongile has not been well for, let's say, about 2 years or so. You know, her health has not been great. And last year she suffered multiple strokes and was in and out of hospital at least twice last year. And the last hospitalization was around the end of November, so on. So she's not been well, and the stroke, I guess, and I have to say that her underlying illness was because she was diabetic. You know, so that is the long and short of her illness. But she fought on. She was quite strong, and she even performed in the past 2 years without people knowing that much about her health situation. You know, showing how strong and resilient she is and she was. So, yeah, so that was her health background.
And the news of her untimely passing really coming as a shock. I imagine some of her children, are gutted at this moment.
Yeah, COVID-19 and the restrictions and going to the hospitals didn't make it any easier. You cannot be having a family of so many, and only one or two people can actually see you. And that was only later on during hospitalization because of restrictions to the hospital. So Ayanda Tsepo Siabonga had the opportunity, at the end of December just to see her, but it was quite at a distance. Talk about social distancing. It was quite, I'm sure, unnerving experience for them to actually see your mother 10 meters away from you. And yeah, it was quite traumatic. But I have to say that we live with cherished memories. We live with her music. And I suppose she'll be immortalized through what she has actually left with us behind.
And the fondest memories, really, Bandile. I mean, despite her illness, I'm sure she was a jovial person, as you say. She managed to continue to perform throughout the 2 years.
Yeah, she had a wicked sense of humor. I'm sure your next guest will tell you about possibly her wicked sense of humor. Well, me, I can relate to auntie, and simply saying that, for example, when it came to doing your chores, your duties, family, so yeah, we always had fun times, so as much as the musicians talk about their own jamming session, I can talk about our family jamming sessions, and don't ask me to sing, please. But we also had our own jamming sessions, and yeah, she was part and parcel of us, so she was a kid as well. Yeah.
And I'm sure funeral arrangements are underway. I know it's still too early, but are you able to confirm anything to us?
Well, what I can say is we are 80%, maybe in the next 10 minutes or will be 90% in terms of preparations. So we're asking people to please bear with us, and we are possibly looking at something towards the end of next week. We will confirm later on, but it's not going to be early on in the week, so it's later towards the end of next week. And we are going to be changing her Facebook page to a memorial tribute page, so that's where most of the announcement will be made. So please look out for that memorial page, and we ask people to share their stories, their tributes and experiences.
All right. That is Bandile Mngoma, one of the spokesperson, or rather the spokesperson of the family, really detailing, some of their fondest memories. Someone that they knew as ugogo, as auntie, as a mother, really, as many of us knew her as an artist. But someone that knows her as a colleague is the legendary Bra Hot Sticks Mabuse. Thank you so much for your time. Must be very difficult. Today we're bearing the musical maestro, Jonas Gwangwa. And on the other side, you have to come and see the family. Sad news all over.
Yeah, Linda, it's one of those, the past 24 hours for me have been very, very traumatic and rather painful because it's not easy to lose someone that you've grown to love, someone that you've grown with, someone that you've known from childhood, and the only thing that you have to speak about now is about her passing. I mean, yes, I don't know whether I should say it came as a shock, but also it didn't, because for some reason I did expect anything, because I was continuously in touch with the family, in particular Ayanda. I'd be speaking to her almost once a week just to find out how her mother was. She'll keep me updated, and she would say, Baba, Yazu Umama is not pulling through. And strange enough, yesterday I was going to call her. And as I was reversing my car, I see this phone call come through, and I immediately knew what she was going to say. And the first thing she said to me, "Are you okay?" I said, "Tell me what you want to tell me." She said, "Your mama has gone." Should I say I was shocked? I was, in a way, you know, but at the same time, it was to be expected because she hadn't been well for some time. And when someone goes through the pain that, from what I would have heard from Ayanda, is such that, you know, we pray that someone rests in peace. And I was comforted, you know, by the fact that, you know, we had expected that anything is possible, and how sad it is, you know, for us to stand here and talk about the passing of Sibongile Khumalo when we should be celebrating her music and her, you know, her ability to make us enjoy ourselves and be in the right space. Yeah.
As shattered as you are, Hot Sticks, this is someone that you knew from back in Soweto. She was also born in Soweto. You're still in Soweto. Take me back to when you first met her.
Well, we all came from Orlando West, and, you know, we lived around the same neighborhood. And her father, Professor Kabim Goma, was such an inspiration to all of us, including her brother Olinda. We, you know, we were all aspiring musicians. But what was very critical about the process is that we were always invited to the school called the K House, where, you know, he had a school where he was teaching, and I'll be coming back home with him. And that's how I got to interact with Sibongile at any given moment. And at the time, she had not even considered herself a professional performing artist. Yes, she was surrounded by music all the time with her brothers and all the other musicians, Tina, Nabokaya, and everybody else. She sang at a very early age. But I don't even imagine that there was the intention to become a professional singer until such time that she went to universities to study music. Although, yes, during the time, I mean, when she went to university, she met Thandi Ntuli, who was Selby Ntuli's sister. Selby was someone that we had started the Beatles with. And our interaction was such that we became friends, even more sisters, because of that relationship with Thandi. And everything else grew from one day to the other, up to a point where I would approach her and say, lalela la, abantu bayakwazi ukuthi uyacula, you know, ngifuna ukwenza ishow nawe, but people don't even realize that you are an accomplished violinist. And she'd say, ngiyeke wena man, angisadlali violin. I said, please, people know that you are a singer. We know what you are cula, but mina ngiyazi ukuthi you are a violinist, but people out there don't even know that you're a violinist. And she picked up the violin for the first time, I think, after a long time. And we did an amazing concert at the Market Theatre. And, you know, incidentally and gratefully so, Professor Kabim Goma was there. And he said to me, wow, you made her play the violin for the first time after a long time, you know. I thought that was, you know, an honor that she agreed to play the violin for me. And subsequently, because of that show, we had invited some record company executives who were exposed to Sibongile, the singer and the violinist. And I remember Guy Henderson saying to me, where does she come from? I said, she's a Sowetan, you know. The sad thing about that is that she'd been insulated from the normal world of popular music because of opera. And I must say that today a lot of young people appreciate pop, classical music and opera as a result of Sibongile Khumalo being the high-profile, opera singer. And we're very grateful to that our people now begin to realize that there are other opportunities beyond just the pop music.
And she went on to have an illustrious career, really. One song, quickly as we wrap up, that, you know, will always that always comes to your mind, that comes top of your mind right now. When someone mentions her name, which song comes to your mind?
There's so many.
And you can sing it for us.
How ya ewe kai tabo hamuletsane. That song, is one of the songs. Sibongile was very special in adapting classically composed songs by African composers and bring them into the modern world. And that song was written by the late Emily Mutsielwa, a standard classical track which was used a lot in choral music, and she brought it into the modern sound, which I was privileged to produce with along with the number Mtunzi number.
All right. Sure, Mpho. So much to take in, really. As Bra Sipho Hot Sticks Mabuse really details the history, but also we got to hear about, the ordinary woman, behind those white walls, who was known to her family as Ugogo, as umama to her children, really. The world and South Africa is left poorer and poor, as you can really see, since the passing of Dr. Sibongile Khumalo.
Absolutely, Linda. Let's leave it there. The ordinary woman who made a tremendous impact in South Africa and the role that she played in the music space. Of course, we will continue to bring you more of this. Linda Mnisi stationed outside the house of the late musician, opera singer Sibongile Khumalo.